topic that I was set to talk today is about how do you discover your power as a mentor by focusing on getting to know your mentee's power. And this works for everyone. We talk a lot about women because that's what Thrive with Mentoring is for. But I think the relationship between mentor and mentee is pretty much the same. Doesn't matter how you identify yourself. The main process for me regarding the mentoring has been always that the focus of the mentoring is the mentee and not the mentor. I think there is a lot of focus on trying to deliver your experience, help others by showing all your experience to others, and then you focus so much on what you know that you forget that on the other side is someone trying to learn from you, but also that has a whole set of complexity in herself or himself, and who also has a lot to offer. So for me, mentoring is an exchange process, and that's what I try to bring here in this particular presentation. So it's really one aspect only of the mentoring. There are many more things that we need to consider when mentoring someone, but I think this is really important. So I came up with 4 steps for the discovery. How do you discover the mentee's power? So when you start a new relationship as a mentor, usually you don't know, or you may know from if it's a work relationship, if it's a friend, if it's someone you already have a knowledge of from your circles, you may know already a little bit about the mentee, but in many cases you don't know anything about the mentee. So you should really try to discover who is this new person that is coming to me for support. And the first thing is that I believe it's good to remind yourself about who do you want to be as a mentor. And we will go into that in more details in a minute about the detailing a bit what do I mean by that. So who is that you want to be as a mentor? Who is the personality and the character you want to show as a mentor? The second part of discovering is really to listen attentively to your mentee. So you probably have heard of empathetic listening. Listening that is not only to answer to something, but really to understand what is being said and the perspective of the other person. That is a second step that for me is very critical. And the third one that is also very useful in coaching, not only in mentoring, and as a consultant, I use the same aspects too, is to ask questions, relevant questions, and then really attentively use step 2 again, which is listen to your mentee in the answers that he or she will give to you. And then a good step that I use that is really, really important is to check if what you understand, if you have listened is really right, because what someone says may not translate exactly into the ears of the other the same way. We all have our internal filters. We all have our internal paradigms and perspectives. So what we hear may not be exactly what is being said, or we always have our own interpretation going on. So it's good when you ask a question, you listen to your mentee, to go back to her or him and say, okay, I heard you say this, this, and that. Is that right? Is that a proper understanding? I hear you say that you are frustrated with your relationship in this and this particular situation. Is that what you're trying to convey? So really confirm what the mentee is telling you. It's really used a lot also as a coach. So for the first aspect here, remind yourself of who you want to be. I would like us to focus on that one, because I think it's the most important of the 4. And what I wanted to say about this is think about who you wanted to be as a mentor if you wanted to be the expert, the one who knows it all and better. That's what the expert is. So there are a lot of mentors who position themselves in the mentoring process really as, I know it, I have the experience, I have the knowledge, and I'm here to teach, to tell the other person what to do. So if you can come in the relationship as a mentor with that mindset, the expert. The risk with this is that if you are the one who knows it all better, then you have nothing to learn. And it's very difficult that you can identify if you need to adjust your mentoring style. The second one is the people pleaser. So there are a lot of moments where you enter a mentoring relationship and you end up being the one that wants to be liked by your mentee. So everything you say or the way that you behave, the person who you are being as a mentor is always enabling the mentee. So if the mentee, for instance, the risk here is that if the mentee is in a situation of being a complainer or putting herself in a victim role, then you may, if you are being the people pleaser, you may end up just say, oh yeah, I know how hard it is, poor you. And then you enable her to stay in that state of victimization, which is not necessarily the best idea for her or for him. So being the people pleaser, is that the mentor that you want to be? So you need to be aware if that's the one you are being. The other one, I call it the caring mother, because mothers are usually caring and they love us, but sometimes they also treat us as if we are a child. And as a mentor, the risk of you being the mother, the caring mother to your mentee, is that you may not help him or her to really stand up for themselves because they don't know better, right? They need mommy to help them. And you may create a relationship that is maybe not so much a healthy relationship, maybe too dependent on you. I believe that is not the best way to be as a mentor. So yes, you need to love your mentee, show love and respect and support, but try to not be or think about if you want to be that person that is always treating the other one as if the other one is a child who cannot think for their own. And the other type of mentor that sometimes, those types are things that we all as mentors, sometimes we kind of fall into the trap, right? This is not to judge anybody. It's just for us to be aware and be very consistently observant of ourselves in the relationship. So the last type is the persecutor. The persecutor is that kind of mentor who is always judging. So everything the mentee says, the mentor immediately is making a judgment about that and is immediately proposing a correct, oh no, you should not do that. Do you realize how arrogant you are being? So let's try this other way here. That is a better way to do that. Oh, this will not work. You need to expose yourself this or that way on social media. So you are already judging that the other person is doing something wrong. And the worst thing that can happen to a mentee is for her or him to feel like they are the wrong ones, that they are doing wrong all the time. You want them to grow with the mentoring process, not to feel that they are always at mistake. So I would suggest try to avoid being that person in your mentoring process. Now, what about if you could be someone as a mentor, if you enter the mentorship relationship being the learner instead of the expert? So the learner is someone that is open to help the other person by building possibilities with them. So it's someone who is open to create synergy, and from the understanding of the other person, following the other steps, listening, asking questions, confirming what you have listened to, really create an universe that is beneficial for both, and that is really synergetic with the mentee, where even the mentee can find their own answers at times. The second possibility that I invite you to imagine, you as a mentor, you can be the open-minded person. So you can be the one willing to consider ways forward that may not be the ones you have planned for. So, or maybe you will end up by understanding your mentee, understanding that the type of help or support or advice that that mentee needs is in a way or in a path that is different from your own. People are different. People react to things differently. People have different backgrounds, have different experiences. It's not fair to suggest or to expect that everyone needs to act the same way to achieve the same things. Every person is different. So sometimes your way is not the way that's best for the mentee. For instance, I'm a very passionate person. So my way of going about my work and my passion and my projects is with a lot of passion. There are people who are I had mentees who are very introspective. They don't feel comfortable showing their passions, but that doesn't mean that they cannot communicate and thrive. So you just need to understand that that mentee is someone like this. She's more comfortable with calmer conversations. She's more comfortable with a one-to-one conversation in a lower volume, maybe, and maybe in a less passionate tone. That is okay. So you try to help that person to find their power. Here we are, finding the power of the mentee on their own terms, instead of on your terms as a mentor. The third possibility of who can you be as a mentor is the authentic encourager. I call it the authentic encourager because it's that person that is really positive and optimistic about the mentee and what they are trying to achieve. But it's also courageous to say things when there is a blind spot, when the mentee clearly is missing out something or has a blind spot about themselves. So it's someone that in a courageous way can tell the mentee, look, maybe you're missing, have you thought about this other aspect? Have you understood how this other person is feeling when you are talking, how your boss is reacting? Why is your boss is reacting this way? Have you understood that? And maybe open up the mind of the mentee to another possibility, but always being an encourager, meaning maybe if you do that, I think you can do even better. You are doing great. You are really doing a good job. What if you listen to them, if you understand where they are coming from, the boss is coming from, for instance, you can even be better at it. So it's really an encouraging aspect. You are really always optimistic about what the mentee is capable of, but not letting the blind spots stay blind to them. And the fourth one is the cheerleader. The cheerleader is the one that really is there for the success of the mentee. So this is really the moment where the mentor let go of the mentor's ego. So we as a mentor should not, I believe, be in the relationship of mentoring as someone expecting the mentee to see us as this kind of a role model and full of glory. That is not what the mentorship is about. For me, the mentorship is about the success of the mentee. It's about the mentee being happy, the mentee finding their truth, their power, their ways to go ahead with their dreams and their plans, and not about you. So this is what I call the cheerleader. The cheerleader in the sense of you really authentically are in the mentorship process, relationship, with the purpose that your mentee will be successful. Even if at the end she feels like, oh, actually I didn't need so much this mentor, I did it myself. That's okay, because it's not about the mentor. It's not about you. It's about the mentee, right? So that means you did a very good job, by the way. So for me, it's really about, if you can be like this type of mentor instead of the previous ones we discussed, then you will just do very well the next steps. Remember, I had 4 steps of how to discover the power of your mentee. So if you are being this person, the learner, the open-minded, the authentic encourager, and the cheerleader, you definitely will be able to do to have an attentive listen, to listen attentively to your mentee, to ask the right questions, because if you are listening, then you can really be sure to ask the right questions and to validating your finds properly in a proper language, in a cheerful and encouraging way, in a courageous way as well, to open up the blind spots that your mentee may have. So for me, the secret of the 4 steps is the first one. Once you decide that you can be very aware of how you are being, and try to be more this style that I'm proposing here, I think you can really follow through the further steps to discover the power of your mentee, and then to be a powerful mentor as well. Now, once you are this, once you decide to be this type of mentor, it's really also easy for you to start using your own personality, your own tools. The learner, the open-minded, the authentic encourager, the cheerleader may look like different for me, for Alicia, or for Damola, right? We are not the same. We will bring our own personalities, our own expertise. Now is the time to show your expertise, to put your experience at the service of the mentee, to put your learnings and your real skill, your skills at the service of the mentee, because now you're going to be yourself while being the learning, the open-minded, the authentic, encourage, and the team leader. So basically, my topic for today is very simple. It's really about who you want to be as a mentor, and through that, focus on your mentee and deploy or explore the power of your mentee. So the first thing I think that you gain with this, so the things you then are required, or not what you gain from it, but what are you required to bring to be able to deliver mentorship in this way, is that you really need to be, as a mentor, very skillful in terms of adaptability and flexibility, because you need to adapt your mentorship to what you're reading from the mentee, to the ways and the questions and the approaches and the personality of the mentee. So that's where I say that there is not one solution that will fit, that will work for all mentees. So for some mentees, you will find a very different way to deliver your message or your support, because you have the skill of adaptation. You have the skill of being capable of adapting, being flexible to her or to him or to them. The second one is you need to bring in as a mentor, and even if you're being all that, as we discussed before, the skill to communicate well your expertise. After all, if you are a mentor, we understand that you have some expertise or some experience that is of value for that mentee. So you also will need to communicate well after doing that reading of the mentee power and how that person behaves better or responds better to your, or can develop better. Then you need to really be capable to skillfully communicate what you know, what is your experience, why you think this or that pathway may be helpful to them. And here you may need to use storytelling, or in some cases, by reading your mentee, you see that the mentee reacts better with storytelling. Other mentees may react better, they have more analytical minds, so they will react better with data. They will need some numbers and data and statistics to be convinced. And others, I don't know, will be more visual. So you need to create an image to them. So that will help them. So when you use questions to your mentee, you really can make your mentee reflect and act on that, but using all these different approaches. So either a visual one, an analytical one, a storytelling one. And then through that process and engaging in questions with the mentee, you will really have them react well and act well for their own success. And the third thing that I believe that you are required to bring to be that mentor and to discover the power of your mentor and therefore be a powerful mentor too, is to be secure, to be self-confident, that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be the learner. It's okay to create synergy instead of just telling the mentee how to do things or giving orders. And that is okay to admit when you're wrong, because in a mentoring relationship, sometimes you give some advice or discuss a pathway, and maybe it will not work for your mentee. So at this moment, maybe in another session, you figure that out, and then it's the moment when you need to really have the courage and the self-assurance to say, you know what, maybe that approach that I suggested, or maybe that I told you was not right for this situation. Maybe we should try something different. It was my mistake, and take responsibility for that, right? So I think here is the last takeaway is humility in this moment is really the door opener, and the thing that will help you to really bring authenticity to the relationship, so that the mentee will really trust you. And this will enable you also to admit your mistakes and customize your mentorship as you go, as you need. And I think that was what I had prepared really for us today. It's a short presentation. I will stop the sharing here. Thank you for listening